And now on to our keynote speaker. Jill Stanek's commitment to Christ led her to risk her job, her reputation, and friendships to stop the terrible practices of abortion and infanticide. Jill was a registered nurse at Christ Hospital in Illinois when she made a shocking discovery. Babies were being aborted alive and allowed to die without medical care. Jill went public and has since become a national figure in the effort to protect both born and preborn infants. In January of 2003, Jill was named by World Magazine as one of the 30 most prominent pro-life leaders in the movement over the past 30 years. In January 2009, Jill was awarded the Life Prizes Award by the Girard Foundation for her pro-life work. Jill writes about pro-life issues as a weekly columnist for the WorldNetDaily.com. She also hosts the most read pro-life blog in the U.S., www.jillstanek.com, and you can sign up to receive her columns by email at her video table after the event. For her pro-life writing, liberal MSNBC commentator Keith Olbermann named Jill the worst person in the world. Exactly. That happened on June 4th, 2009, and it is perhaps Jill's greatest honor. Jill is a member of Parkview Christian Church in Orland Park, Illinois. She and her husband, Rich, have 3 children and 4 grandsons. Ladies and gentlemen, Jill Stanek.
It has been 7 years since I last spoke at the Allen County Right to Life Banquet. That was on October 15th, 2002, and a lot has happened since that time. To recap my story, I was a registered nurse at Christ Hospital on the southwest side of Chicago when I discovered in 1999 that the hospital was involved in a late-term abortion procedure. But more than that, the method of abortion that the hospital used, called induced labor abortion, sometimes resulted in babies being aborted alive. And if they were aborted alive, they were relegated to die in the hospital's soiled utility room without any medical intervention whatsoever. It was not uncommon for a live aborted baby to live an hour or 2 or even longer. One baby I know of lived almost as long as an 8-hour shift. Christ Hospital said that it compassionately aborted babies with very serious mental and physical handicaps, but Christ Hospital also aborted for life or health of the mother, and we in the pro-life movement know that abortion for health of the mother is basically just abortion on demand. And so there were babies who were aborted by this method at Christ Hospital who were completely healthy. One night, a nursing coworker was taking a little baby boy who had been aborted because he had Down syndrome and survived to our soiled utility room to die because his parents didn't want to hold him, and she didn't have time to hold him that night. And when she told me what she was doing, I couldn't bear the thought of this suffering child dying alone, and so I cradled and rocked him for the 45 minutes that he lived. He was about the size of my hand. He was between 21 and 22 weeks old. He weighed about 8 ounces. And he didn't move very much because he was using all of his energy attempting to breathe. And I remember toward the end of his life, I couldn't tell if he was alive or not unless I held him up against the light to see if I could see his heart beating through his chest wall because their skin is so thin at that age. And after he was pronounced dead, I folded his little arms across his chest. I tied them together with a little string. I wrapped him in a shroud, and I took him to the morgue where we took all of our other dead patients. Needless to say, this was a life-changing event, and in the span of that 45 minutes, I was converted from an ambivalent pro-lifer to an activist. When private appeals to Christ Hospital to stop aborting didn't work, we went public. This was in July of 1999, and then I refused to leave the hospital. I thought that I needed to stay and be a witness. And I also thought that if God knew what he was getting me into, even if I didn't know it, and thought I could handle it, well, then I could. And I also thought that it was blasphemous that these abortions were being committed at a hospital named after my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So I eventually got fired in August of 2001, after 2 years after I went public. Now, meanwhile, I was asked to testify on the federal level for the Born Alive Infants Protection Act in 2000 and 2001. This was a simple 3-sentence bill that simply defined what it means to be a legal person in the United States of America. This is how far we have come now with legalized abortion. We have to keep the turf of babies who have been born and survived. And this bill said, any baby born alive, no matter what gestational age, no matter what reason for being born, wanted or not, was a constitutionally protected person. President Bush signed that bill into law in August of 2002. Now, when I spoke at your banquet in October of 2002, the Born Alive bill had been introduced in the state of Illinois as a state bill, but it had not yet passed. And I had testified in the state Senate twice. But at that time, when I was here, there was a couple things that I didn't know. Well, there was one person on those Senate committees that none of us knew would someday be the president of the United States, then State Senator Barack Obama. The first year, 2001, when I testified before Senator Obama, he argued with me in committee that giving premature born babies, the same legal rights as full-term born babies would somehow lead to the overturn of Roe v. Wade. No thanks to Obama, who was the only senator to speak against Born Alive on the state Senate floor. Born Alive passed in the Senate, but it failed in the House that year. The second year, 2002, right before I came here, Obama argued with me in committee that my goal really wasn't to rescue abortion survivors. My agenda really was to stop abortion. He argued, why wouldn't I have been satisfied that Christ Hospital created a comfort room? And Christ Hospital had created a comfort room because I was going around the country telling everybody that they were leaving live aborted babies to die in the soiled utility room. The comfort room was a small, nicely decorated room complete with a first photo machine in case parents wanted professional pictures taken of their aborted babies, baptismal supplies in case they wanted their aborted babies baptized, and a foot printer and baby bracelets in case they wanted those keepsakes of their aborted babies. You may not think that what I'm telling you could possibly be true, but I took pictures of that comfort room and I had them entered into testimony for the record.